Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Bitches.
And he's Bitches, aka Count Jackula. And today we're going to talk about Beezel, the latest horror film by director Aaron Fradkin. And this is a hard movie to describe, but an easy movie to grasp. It's an anthology horror film, kind of. It takes place in a single location, so every single story takes place in the same location over the course of several decades. So each story is in a different decade than the last. But they all deal with the same monster. The location in question is a New England home. The monster in question is the witch that lives underneath the home's floorboards. And the characters in question that deal with it, they're all part of the same family, but like different generations of it. And we'll talk more about that in the spoiler section. But this was a disappointing movie for me. It's not like I went in with high expectations or like I was eagerly anticipating this movie. It was disappointing because it started off strong.
Yeah, it starts off really strong, keeps going, and then when you get to the last story, it just sort of...
Yeah. The prologue was okay. First segment was solid. The second segment was also solid.
Really good, yeah.
And then you get to the third segment. And
oh my God, fucking end!
Holy shit. Third segment is not only too long, I didn't like the characters in that segment.
It's got the worst acting.
It's got the worst acting, and it's got way less of the monster, which is the most intriguing part of this entire movie.
Yeah, in the third one, that's gonna be where the monster goes all out, right? No.
So, in order to try to keep this movie interesting, you interact with the monster in a different way in each segment, so that it's not just repeating itself. But unfortunately, I feel like that's to this movie's detriment, because when you get to the third one and the monster is more like a lurking presence than a literal presence, it gets boring real fast.
Yeah, it gets really dull. Like, I wasn't kidding a minute ago when I was like, oh my God, fucking end.
This is like a rare movie where you see less of the monster the more it goes on.
Yeah.
You get more of it in the first few segments than you do in the last.
Yeah. One of the biggest problems with the last segment is that you see it coming a mile away and then it just walks at a leisurely stroll that entire distance and you're like, oh, God, I see what you're doing. It
has the most unlikable characters.
Yeah.
The acting for those characters is the weakest in the entire movie.
Yeah.
You don't get the cool monster that you got to see in the previous two segments.
No.
At least until the very end of the segment. It feels like if you're going to do an anthology this way, that there should be a way to bring them all together.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It just feels like another story, and then the movie just kind of ends.
Yeah, it's over.
You get an epilogue with a new family moving into the house, and that's that.
Like,
whereas I kind of felt like it should have like built up and like wrapped everything together.
Yes,
but it didn't, and in fact it kind of made the rest of the movie feel a little pointless because it didn't.
Yeah, like the problem is that the third story, given its quality, would normally be the one you put in the middle.
Yeah.
Didn't the third one even have like a sex scene in it?
There is.
Yeah.
There's a sex scene in that third one.
Yeah.
It's not exciting.
Great.
Okay, so this movie also has this weird element where it's like it wants to be found footage, but it's not found footage.
Yeah.
Every segment has something to do with things being filmed. You have an old like 8mm camera at the beginning, graduate to like tapes when you get to the 80s.
Yeah.
And then you have like camera phones when you get to like the next two segments, right?
Right.
But like there's segments of the movie that aren't being recorded. They're actual movie stuff.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the movie would have been better off to commit to the found footage thing given its premise.
Yeah.
And maybe given itself some sort of wraparound with someone like discovering the tapes after moving into the house.
Yeah.
And maybe that would have brought things together. I don't know.
Yeah, that might have been a better way of doing it.
It would have been very VHS, but like its conceit would be that it's the same location and the same monsters. So
right.
It would still be different.
Right.
Like,
I don't know what you're gonna do about that third act though.
Yeah, I don't know either. The third act is always going to be a problem as it is. It's not exciting. It might have been more tolerable, like you said, if it was the second segment, but the reason why it isn't is because the story is being told linearly.
Yeah.
Throughout each decade, and that's the one that takes place in the most recent timeline, so.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate because I was rooting for this movie, especially when you get to that first segment and you're introduced to that videographer character. I really liked him.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad when it moved on to the next segment and I realized, oh, this is Anthology.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be our main character going forward, but okay. But I liked the second segment.
Yeah, the second segment is good.
It won me over, even though I was sad when the first segment ended. But then we got to the third segment, and at this point, I'm on board. I'm rooting for the movie. I'm like, okay, let's bring this all home. Let's tie all this together.
In this movie, it's like, oh, this is good.
And again, I'm repeating myself, but I was hit with some mediocre acting, worse than the previous two segments.
Oh yeah, by far.
And I'm sitting there waiting, okay, well, at least maybe when the witch shows up, it's gonna be good. And then the witch only shows up in the last shot, basically. And the rest of it is doing the kind of stuff that you normally build up to earlier in the movie instead of your last act.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, the witch is possessing someone.
When you've already had the witch straight up do some Jason Voorhees shit in the first segment, it feels like a downgrade to have it doing like Paranormal Activity 1 in the last act.
Yeah. Kind of did feel like Paranormal Activity 1.
Yeah, which would have been fine as like first segment stuff, right?
Yeah, first segment, that'd have been okay.
Just like it's doing a lot of fucking with someone's head and all that. That's cool. That's great. But you already showed us like full monster at this point.
Yeah.
It feels like as much of a misstep as putting Death Proof after Planet Terror as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
And I love Death Proof.
Oh yeah, no,
it's a way better movie than this last segment is.
Oh yeah.
So it justifies itself more.
Yeah, Planet Terror is that roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Death Proof is more of a you know, good solid movie with an amazing ending.
Yep.
This unfortunately starts out as a good solid movie and then has a really piss poor ending.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. I wanted to recommend this movie, and I wanted to like the movie as I was watching it, especially when those first two segments won me over.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't recommend it very much.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised when we got to the third one, because I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit! Is it going to be just this for the remainder?
And then
of the movie?
was.
And then it was.
Yeah, unfortunately it was. So Beezel is currently available to rent or buy on various streaming services. If anything we've said has enticed you, if you saw the trailer and were interested in it, despite our review, go and check it out. I'll include Amazon affiliate links in the description below. But again, remember, I am not giving this my endorsement. It is 2/3 of a good movie, and that last third is so dull, it kind of tampered my enjoyment of the first 2/3.
Yeah, it does.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let us move on to the spoilers so we can talk in more detail what happens in these segments. So the movie first starts off with a prologue, and the prologue takes place in like the 60s.
Yeah.
And it involves a little boy who is being called to the basement by his mother.
Yeah.
And then his mother eats him alive.
Yeah.
Because the mother is actually the witch, or at least possessed by the witch. Now, this is a great example of how the movie kind of gives us a lot of witch right away. We have like an It-like opening where the witch just straight up eats a kid, which is pretty fucking cool. The effects are a little weird, or at least not the effects, the way it's edited is a little weird. I kind of wish it had committed to just doing the found footage thing instead of like the way they edited it, but whatever. It's
exactly.
fine. We then flash forward to the 80s, and in the 80s, the father of that kid has called a videographer to his house to finally reveal who killed his son and his wife back in the 60s.
Yeah.
This segment leads to the revelation that he's actually brought the videographer over as a sacrifice to the witch and is basically the witch's Renfield at this point, bringing the witch people to consume. He gets his head ripped off in this really awesome, gory scene by the witch, very Jason Voorhees-esque, when the witch comes up to him and rips his head off. It's fucking great. And it's being on like the fucking VHS tape recording it too, so it's got this kind of retro look. It's really nice. I like this segment. It's my favorite segment.
Yeah, it definitely is the best.
And the videographer is the best actor out of everyone in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
He's fantastic. And the dude playing the dad has this great, like, ghoulish Hansel and Gretel energy where he's, like, offering him, like, candy and food. Like, he's trying to, like, fatten him up for the witch or some shit.
Yeah.
And then it turns out all the food is drugged.
Yeah, just trying to drug him so he could beat him over the head and drag him into the basement, you know?
And I really liked that segment. It's my favorite. But I was really sad when the guy died and the segment ended, because that's when I realized, oh shit, this is a anthology film.
Yeah.
We're not going to follow that character. I liked that character. I was hoping he was going to be our main character throughout this entire movie.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like, I'm trying to get out of this house, but there's a witch in it. Ah!
So then we flash forward. It's like the 90s or early 2000s or something like that. And the guy from the first two segments, the dude who had the kid, his wife from the second segment, because he remarried after his wife was turned into a witch and I guess murdered.
Yeah.
That wife is in hospice care inside the house, and there's a nurse that comes to see her.
Yeah.
Now this introduces a lot more like spooky ghost stuff with the witch haunting the nurse, but it's good spooky ghost stuff.
Yeah. It's actually well done.
It's like nice and creepy. It's great. I like the nurse character, and I like the revelation of all the nurses underneath the basement that the thing has captured over time, like an Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Just deliver me a nurse. It's great. It's fucking creepy. And plus all the sequences where like the old ladies like floating possessed by the witch are nice and creepy. It's got some good imagery.
I think this is also when we find out that like the witch is apparently trying to have a baby.
Yeah, and that did not go the way I thought it was.
No, me neither.
No. Like apparently every like so 100 years, I can't remember the exact number.
300 years.
Yeah, every so like 300 years or whatever, it has to have a baby. So the third segment, we flash forward, and it's the kid of that woman who was in hospice care.
Wife. Yeah.
And he's returned to the house after many years and is trying to sell the house, but his girlfriend ends up getting possessed by the witch while in this house. So it's very paranormal activity. He just wants nothing to do with the house. He wants to get out, but the wife is possessed by the witch and trying to keep him inside the house.
Yeah, you can start to tell that the relationship between these two characters is already on the rocks.
Yeah. They're obviously like not doing well.
Yeah.
They obviously want different things. They're in different places in their life.
There are so many times when you just sort of like, you two just need to get divorced.
And he in particular is a pretty bad actor.
Yeah.
She is a mediocre actor. And the two of them combined is just grating to watch because they're not compelling. And so you're dealing...
there's no chemistry.
So you're watching two people you don't like argue all the time.
Oh my God, just one of you fucking divorce the other or kill the other. Fucking do something.
But unlike the last two segments where you had like a lot of like witch actually showing up and doing shit, the witch stays in the shadows this entire segment, either possessing her or just doing spooky ghost stuff like, oh, hey, she hears a baby crying. Oh, hey, she picks up the baby, but it turns out it's not a baby, it's a dead animal.
Yeah.
Witch only shows up at the very end because over the course of the segment, the witch possesses her, gets her to essentially rape her boyfriend, and then she gives birth to a baby that the witch eats. And I guess that's supposed to be the baby she does every 300 years?
Yeah.
I guess that's what that was building up to. I thought like she was gonna possess the baby and like take on a new form or some shit. Like not like
the couple that moves in at the last one is gonna find like a random infant just on the ground.
But she just has babies to eat them, I guess. It's weird how eating babies is an anticlimactic reveal.
Yeah, it really was, because you're just sort of like, okay.
But that's the best part of the segment, is her like gnawing on the baby at the end.
The minute it's over, you're like, wait.
Yeah.
What? What's the point of this?
And then there's an epilogue over the course of the credits of a new family moving into the house, signaling that the whole cycle is going to renew again with most likely this new family.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, by this point, I had stopped caring because that third segment was so grating.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because, again, that first segment was fucking great. That second segment kept me going.
Yeah.
And I was still into it. Then, like a wet fart, that third segment starts and it just gets more and more boring.
Yeah.
And I just didn't care by the end.
I remember that moment where like I turned to you and I was like, dude, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And you were like, don't look at me, man. I just work here.
Yeah.
You know? Well, you can find me here on YouTube on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I stream, and you can come and ask me all sorts of great questions about horror, sex and horror movies, Transformers because of more than meets the eye, or any sort of weird, esoteric, mythological, or religious fucking subject you wish to, because I have a head full of that shit, and that's why I'm brain damaged.
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. And if you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag babyfood. Use the hashtag babyfood, that way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows that you had some of them real baby back ribs, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Falling off the boat.
Yep. Finger licking good. And with that said, my fellow gorehounds, peace out, and we'll catch y'all later.